All right. And so with that, obviously, hello everyone. I'm Kelsey Lemon, Senior Technical Marketing Manager here at VMware. And joining me today is,
Sunny Nguyen, Senior Technical Marketing Engineer.
and we want to welcome you to our essential workflow session on Skyline, where we're going to highlight features that you should all be leveraging. And of course, no webinar would be complete without Michelle Clopton, Senior Product Marketing Manager, and Daniela Quesada, Marketing Program Manager. And of course, everyone's going to be helping with Q&A, so make sure that you're using that Q&A option at the bottom of the screen there. And in the spirit of conversation, like I said, definitely take advantage of that Q&A option. And if you have a success story that you would like to share, either in chat or if you want to come off mute and share your story today, Michelle and Daniela would love to hear from you. As a matter of fact, they've got some cool swag, as you can see here, to give away. So keep that in mind as we go through today's presentation. And with that, here's our agenda today. It's action-packed. We're going to quickly go over Skyline's benefits. We're going to include, what's happening underneath the hood, technically. And then we're going to spend, the rest of the session, going over some of those key day two workflows that'll be essential to your success when you're using the service. So we're going to talk about things like, how you can find unprotected endpoints and how you can automatically add them for the service to monitor. We're going to talk about how you can actually customize Skyline's recommendations to only show what's most important to you. We're going to talk about how you can restore your collector's health if it should ever become unhealthy. And I saw that Log Assist was very, very popular. So we're going to talk about how you can leverage Log Assist to speed issue resolution. And then we're going to talk about upgrade recommendations and how you can leverage that to make your environments more stable and resilient. And then last but not least, we're going to talk about how you can integrate, Skyline's data into the tool of your choice, via Skyline's API capabilities. All right, so with that, let's just talk about the service, but a quick overview here. And obviously, in order to do this, just want to set some context about the overall support experience that I'm sure that you can all relate to, right? You experience an issue in your environment, you open an SR with us, and then our tech support team, they'll troubleshoot and then they'll work with you to solve that issue, right? Well, with that being said, right, Skyline is actually there to help you solve issues before they happen, so you don't even have the problem in the first place. So it's actually a proactive support technology. And what I really, really like about Skyline, and I'm sure you do too, is that it's available at no additional cost if you have an active production support or Premier support contract. And I saw that a good majority of you all are on Premier or even Success 360, which is also included, as well as Area Universal Suite. And so with that, Skyline supports a variety of different products, and you can see them listed here. But one of the things that's really, really great about Skyline is that it has this automatic detection and proactive remediation, that guidance that actually helps strengthen your environments. And so with the service, again, because it's proactive, you can actually avoid that unplanned downtime, and then you can reallocate that time to do more valuable work, right? And with that being said, when you go to the reactive side of things, Skyline can actually help you resolve existing issues faster. So say, for example, again, if you've got a ticket open with us, our tech support team can actually use Skyline to view your environment's specific configurations. And then at that point, they can actually use data-driven analytics to actually speed discovery and actually drive those faster resolution times. And so quite frankly, when you boil it all down, the bottom line is that Skyline actually helps you get proactive so that you can stay productive. And so instead of constantly being in firefighting mode, right, Skyline will again help you focus on those high priority business initiatives. And so from a high level, from a diagrammatic point of view, right? What's happening underneath the hood in terms of Skyline's architecture, it actually looks like this, right? So first and foremost, as you can see here, there's a cloud services organization that you have all undoubtedly created. And then as you can see here, a component of that cloud services organization is the users, specifically users that have actually, access to the Skyline Advisor service. And again, both of those sit within the cloud services organization. Again, this is that larger wrapper, which can also include other services like Area Operations Cloud, for example. And then once that's done, we talked about the collectors. The collectors are actually installed in your data centers on-prem. And then you can add the various endpoints for the collector to monitor, right? And then these endpoints, they actually provide product usage data to the collector. And then at that point, that data is actually sent to our cloud analysis platform in the cloud, where those results, as you all know, they appear as findings and recommendations within Skyline Advisor Pro. And so, so let's go back, right? Let's look at that diagram a little bit, just dissect it a little bit, right? So, as the environments that Skyline is monitoring, they're not static, right? They rarely look like the environments that we configured on day one. Quite the contrary, as a matter of fact, right? The environments are very, very dynamic in the sense that we're constantly managing those endpoints for the collector to check for findings and recommendations, right? And so as you can see here, as the environment is growing, more endpoints are added, and what's really, really great about this is that, if you're working in a small environment, endpoint management, right? Adding, updating, the deletion of those endpoints, while somewhat tedious, it's bearable. It's a fact of life, right? But if endpoint management is a barrier, that's actually preventing you from expanding your environment coverage, if you're looking for other ways to be more productive, especially if you're working in a very, very large environment, right? We've got some good news for you. And that's actually a perfect segue to one of our first essential workflows, which is automated endpoint detection, right? And what's really, really great about this feature, if you're not leveraging, is that Skyline automatically detects unconnected endpoints and just recommends that you connect them. Prior to this automated endpoint detection feature, customers like you had to manually add each endpoint, one at a time. And, while our team alleviated a lot of that tedium, of this manual process with bulk operations, you still had to do a couple things. You still had to assess your environment's inventory. You had to determine what was there as far as endpoints. And then you had to, use our bulk upload template for the collector to connect them. And as with all, manual processes, let's face it, the potential when you do things manually, the potential for human error is there, and you can miss some endpoints, right? And so, needless to say, the benefits of Skyline's automated endpoint discovery features, they're obvious, right? With Skyline acting as an extra set of eyes, right? You've got greater visibility into your environment, knowing that the inventory that is reporting back to you is reliable. And with the expanded coverage that comes with those additional endpoints being added, you have the ability to proactively avoid more issues, right? So let's just take a look at this feature in action. And so, as soon as you log into Skyline's environment, right, you're going to get a notification that the service has detected some unconnected endpoints in your environment. And clicking on the appropriate endpoint will take you to Skyline's inventory page. And here you're going to get an opportunity to see all your eligible endpoints, complete with key information such as host name, version, host system, cluster, as well as the connector that is reporting their eligibility, right? You have the option to select or dismiss any combination of endpoints, but please keep in mind that once an endpoint is dismissed, you won't have the ability to leverage the automated endpoint detection feature for that endpoint in the future. But, should you decide to add it later, you can still manually add them the traditional way. And so with that being said, now that I've selected all of the endpoints that I want to add, right, I can just go ahead and select them. Then I can download and basically complete this CSV template, filling in all of my required credentials such as username and password. And then once that template is complete, I can then launch the bulk operations feature in my collector, and I can just click continue to participate in the CEIP or customer improvement program. And then I can just basically take that CSV file that Skyline generated, and then I can just drag and drop it. And then after that verification process is done, I can actually then execute bulk operations, right? And then once that's done, I can confirm that the endpoints has been added to my system just by going to the system status tab. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And then once the operation is complete, I can confirm that the endpoints have been added. And then within 4 hours, right, I'm going to see all of my inventory, and it's going to be reflected within Skyline. Now, with that being said, right, a special note about that thumbprint that comes within the template, because I've made the mistake of this. And so if you don't have any thumbprint information, you want to make sure that you erase any of that pre-existing entry within that template file, because without it, you will actually generate some errors. And so you want to make sure that if you don't have any thumbprints, you want to make sure that you erase anything from that template. And I'm going to stop and see if there's any questions about this, or Sonny, if there's anything that you'd like to add.
No, you are spot on about the thumbprints, because we've seen some customers
Yeah,
hit that problem, right?
that's
The other
happened to
thing
me.
the other thing is Kelsey is right. Within 4 hours, you'll get to see everything. But in reality, within 15, 20 minutes, you start
Yeah,
to notice that things will start populating in your inventory. And then some of the findings will start to show up. It's that 4-hour windows when you can see everything from A to Z.
yes, sir. And so thanks for that, Sonny. And so with that, right, let's just talk about another really, really great workflow, or an essential workflow, right? And this is really around the ability to customize the findings that Skyline provides with its hide feature. And you may be asking yourself, right, so for all the talk right around Skyline's ability to allow me to see problems before they occur, why would the solution give me the ability to hide them, right? And the answer is simple. It's about even giving you even greater control about how you wish to leverage a service, right? And that control, it comes in 2 levels. And perhaps the most common form of hiding is done with what I like to call task-specific findings, right? And the reasons why you may want to hide a finding or recommendation could vary, but our customers have indicated that they like to hide specific findings in order to do a couple things, right? They may want to delay remediation in order until they have more information, or they may want to hide a recommendation that just quite frankly simply can't be remediated at the time because of specific dependencies around compliance and standards that they may have already established, or they may want to remove a finding that's quite frankly just does not have any impact on their environment that they're managing. And so I'm going to show an example of that. And with that being said, right, there's also the ability to hide findings on an object level. So say, for example, like an ESXi host. And here's a use case for this, right? And, so say, for example, you've got a host that's part of a test dev environment, and the extra findings are just simply increasing the number of findings that aren't particularly relevant, for immediate remediation, right? Similarly, you may have a host that's being decommissioned or end of life, and you just simply want to reduce the clutter, of the findings and recommendations so that you can focus on the hosts that matter most. And that rhyme was not intentional. And so with that, right? So like I said, the benefits are pretty straightforward. The hide feature, the ability to customize, it actually streamlines your findings dashboard by reducing the number of findings, again, to the ones that are important to you. And then again, it gives you a way to prioritize the ones that you want to remediate, quite frankly. So with that, let's just take a look at this feature in action. And so, Skyline's dashboard gives you the ability to filter findings based on a variety of things, such as category, finding type, and even severity. And since I'm not interested in seeing my trivial findings at the moment, I'm going to apply a filter to isolate them with a single click. Boom. And with them isolated, I can hide them all. Mind you, they haven't been deleted. They're just no longer included in my active findings. But if I want to see them, they're all available underneath my hidden findings tab. And so click on that and you can check that out. I can even filter objects for a specific finding as well, which is really helpful if you've included objects that are part of a test dev environment or a soon to be decommissioned host for Skyline to monitor, right? Now, mind you, you won't hide the finding itself, but you will prevent that object from being included in the affected object list for that finding. And so we've got an example here. We've got a finding. When I click on it, it's got multiple objects that could be impacted, but there's one object that's part of my test dev environment. And so I don't want that to appear in my object list. And so to remedy this, I can go to my inventory tree, just going to go over there. I'm going to find the object, and then I'm going to hide it. And then that object is going to no longer appear in my object list until I decide to unhide it. And what's really, really great about with that, with all of my active findings customized to focus on what I want, I can actually take that and I can export that out for the rest of my team to monitor, right? So I can take that out, I can export it as a CSV file for other members of my team to leverage for reporting and even automated remediation workflows. And this is really, really cool if you're leveraging the API and stuff like that. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later. And I want to pause for a moment and see if there's any questions about this. All right. All right. And so with that, now to our next topic, right? Restoring environment health, right? By working with the collector. You saw in the diagram earlier, right? The Skyline Collector, it's a standalone, it's a virtual appliance that basically just automatically and securely collects that product usage data, right? The product usage data that I was talking about that's being sent for analysis. It includes configuration information, feature and performance data, product usage data, all that's being, collected by the collector, hence the name, and it's being sent to VMware for analysis, right? And so for this segment, right, we're going to talk about the collector. Again, it's our unsung hero. And so I'm going to discuss its overall role in the service and the importance of maintaining its health. And we're going to explore some ways on how you can restore that health should it ever become compromised. And so again, I'm going to go back and we're going to look at this diagram here. And again, like I said, that collector is actually the tool that delivers all those proactive findings and remediation from the endpoints that it monitors, right? And so obviously, with that being said, the collector is a key component of the service, so it's very important that it stays healthy. It's got to be in a healthy state because anything less than that would not only impact, Skyline's ability to deliver those findings and recommendations, again, that keeps the environments that you manage out of harm's way. It also impacts your ability to transmit log bundles to VMware, using that log assist feature, which we're going to also highlight. And that's a very bad thing, if you need to actually respond to an issue and react to it if you didn't proactively resolve it. And so here are the 5 states that your collector can have, and they range from healthy, where obviously no action is needed, unhealthy, right, where the Skyline Collector is not collecting data from at least one configured endpoint. And so you want to ensure that the collector is communicating with each of your configured products over the network. Additionally, with that being said, just ensure that each configured product is using an account that is not disabled or the password is expired. And then there's also, failing to collect data. If you see this is basically saying that Skyline, the collector, is not receiving data from a configured product, right? So you want to ensure that the collector can communicate with all of your products over the network. You may also see a status that says, hey, you know what? No configured products. And so, and this, you're going to probably see this, when you've successfully sort of deployed and registered the Skyline. But however, when you do not have any products or configured, you're going to see that. And then last but not least, you may see something that says inactive. And this is basically saying that the health of the collector can't be determined. So with that being said, you want to ensure that the collector is powered on and able to communicate with VMware. And as you can see here, we've got a KB article and for more information about this. And so please make note of that. And got to say that the latest collector, if I'm not mistaken, Sunny, is what, 3.5?
The latest is 3.4.
3.4. Okay, so I'm in the future, so that's my superpower. I go to the future. That's my superpower. It's not invisibility. It's going into the future. All right, and so with that, now for the demo, right? So let's just jump into the service and check on the state of my collectors. And as you can see here, I've got 3 collectors that are not monitoring my environment. And this environment consists of 2 vCenters, 9 hosts, 24 VMs. I got 1 area operation manager and 2 Horizon connection servers, right? And when I click and check on their health, I see that they're either partially healthy or failing to collect data. Not good, right? And so let's address the collector that is failing to collect data from my vCenter. And so with that, I'm actually going to remote desktop in, and I'm going to do some investigation here, right? And as I expand my inventory, I see the culprit, or it's rather what I don't see, right? It seems that my collector was inadvertently removed. I can only speculate as to why, but perhaps it was moved to another vCenter, or perhaps it was cloned. Or it was deleted. But in any event, I can resolve this issue by, locating the parent data store and folder, and then using its VMX file, to properly add it back to inventory. And doing this is a really, really simple process. Just walk through the registration wizard. I can give the VM a name. I can associate it with the host and confirming all of my decisions, right? And then with that, with it being all that being done, I can actually go back and I can power it on. And this should basically enable the collector to properly communicate with the vCenter server. And with that, right, we can go on to the other collector that is being registered as partially unhealthy. So I'm going to remote desktop in again and check out the other vCenter. And after a quick inspection, I noticed that the collector, while available, doesn't seem to be responding. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to reboot the guest OS since it's got VM tools installed. And then after the reboot, what you're going to see is that now it's on, the state's basically changed from available to powered on. And for the third collector, you can go through and you can do a very, very similar process. And then once all that is said and done, what I can do now is I can actually go back into Skyline Advisor Pro, and I can see that everything is functioning properly again, right? With all three collectors registering as healthy.
So two things I would definitely add to this. Great, great piece, by the way, Kelsey. As you can see with the versioning, we do wish, or we do recommend you go to the latest and greatest at 3.4. Also, when it comes to inactive collectors, do look into either fixing it or removing it, because having it there, you're actually limiting the features available from Skyline
right.
that you can use.
Good point. Good point. Thanks for that. And let's keep this show moving, right? And so now let's just talk about how you can use Skyline to improve, the time to resolution of your open support requests, right? Chances are, if you're already using Skyline, you're very well aware of the log assist feature, right? But what I want to do is I want to take a moment to talk about why this is such a game changer, right? And basically what it does, it actually automates the log bundle creation process, right? The process is automated. And if any of you in the audience have gone through the process of manually creating log bundles, how time consuming this can be, right? And so with that being said, right, Skyline gives you the ability to send those log bundles safely and securely to our support team. And so you don't have to use any hosting services like an FTP site to transfer those log bundles, which can be many gigabytes worth of data. And when there are times, right, where you may need to react to an issue that wasn't proactively resolved, right, Skyline can support you again with this log assist feature. It's 17 times faster than that manual process, which translates into a lot of hours saved. As a matter of fact, I think Michelle gave us some stats recently, and I think it was 2022, 100,000 hours were saved. So that, that's a tremendous amount of time. And so with that said, Sonia and I, we're going to do something special. We're actually going to do a reenactment of what it looks like in terms of your interaction with our support team when it comes to using the log assist feature. And so again, if you're a Skyline customer, you can speed the resolution of an open support request by sending those log bundles to our support team with our log assist feature, right? Again, it automates that traditional process of manually creating those log bundles. You just simply select where you want to retrieve the logs, and Skyline does the rest, ensuring that our support team gets all that information that they need to quickly begin troubleshooting. And then once that log transfer has been initiated, the log bundles are automatically uploaded to our global support services portal. It's a direct transfer that is fast and secure. And again, no FTP sites are needed. And also with that being said, right, our support engineers can also request log bundles from you as well. You have the option to either approve or to reject that request, but please note that if you'd like for them to pull logs, be sure to tell them the object name. And also our support engineers, if they need more information from you, you can actually enable, our auto approve feature, which can actually save even more time. And what's really great about this is that since all the log transfers are recorded in our log library page, right, you have complete visibility into who initiated the log bundle request, basically just giving you that end-to-end solution to track, right, the resolution of your support request. And if you're an admin, you can take advantage of our SR visibility option, which is located under advanced settings. And with that, you can actually monitor the status of support requests from other members of your team simply by just toggling that switch on. See if there's any questions or comments about that.
Not about log assist, but there was a very good question earlier on when you were talking about collectors and adding the endpoints.
Yep.
We've got someone asking, hey, I've got 40 vCenters and
Wow.
from time to time, cert expires. That's just the case, right?
Yep.
Is there a way to automatically renew the certificate for that particular vCenter? And my response is at the moment, the collector and the GUI does not support that, right? It knows that there's a new cert. You just have to go in and acknowledge it. And you go on. Engineering is well aware of that. So they're looking into how to help solve the problem for you all. Okay.
Thanks, Sonny. Awesome. All right. And so now let's talk about how you can use, Skyline's upgrade, recommendations to strengthen the environments that you manage. Again, all this is being done in an effort to make the environments that you manage more stable and resilient. And again, most importantly, to keep everything out of harm's way, right? And so, and the funny thing about upgrade recommendations is it could be a tricky topic. Let's just address the elephant in the room, right? Reactions to upgrading anything can vary anywhere from love to hate, right? To anywhere in between. Personally, when I'm hard at work, on my computer, I get a pop-up message or an email that says, hey, you got an update available, more times than not, I'm going to click cancel instead of install because I'm thinking to myself, I'll get to it later, because I just don't have the time at the moment. Or better yet, right, I'll avoid doing an upgrade because I'm afraid that I may break something that's already working, right? So, and as we all know, we just talked about this, environments can be very, very dynamic, but with that also comes this element of just it being fragile. So I'm reluctant that if I do something, I may disrupt, the balance without any insight on how that upgrade is going to impact all of my existing installations. And so, and again, that's just me on a single computer, going back to what the person said earlier about the 40 some odd vCenters, right? It's far more complicated, when you're running on a network, in an era that we live in, right? Where you got a constant driver updates, you got bug fixes, you got patches, all these are being created to address security vulnerabilities and performance issues, and having all that come at you, it could be a very, very overwhelming challenge for any IT professional to track, right? And because of this, patching is a major challenge, for managers everywhere. So I talked about the reasons for not patching and upgrading. I can go on and on forever about that, but here's the rub, right? Not doing them could expose vulnerabilities to your environment and impact business continuity, quite frankly. So we at VMware, we realize this, and that's why we've included upgrade recommendations in Skyline. And so why should you be leveraging this feature? Quite frankly, upgrade recommendations are important because they often include, like I said, those critical patches to security holes, right? Being aware of them, makes your environment less vulnerable to harm. Upgrade recommendations can also include new or enhanced features or better compatibility with other VMware solutions. And so, quite frankly, they're just there to improve the stability of your software and then remove outdated features and things like that. But most importantly, you could potentially remediate dozens of Skyline's proactive findings at once. And for me, that benefit alone is worth the price of admission. And so with that being said, let's just check out this demo of that feature in action. And so upgrade recommendations, they're available under findings and recommendations. And if I click on an upgrade recommendation, they're actually displayed all the recommendations for your environment. And they're sorted by vCenter server. And if you have multiple upgrade recommendations, they are displayed in the order of upgrade sequence. And so in this particular example, I've got 3 ESXi hosts that are being managed by this particular vCenter server. It has 3 upgrade recommendations, including the minimum build number of each version. And so in this particular case, if I were to upgrade to a minimum build number of ESXi 6.5U3, I could resolve 59 potential issues discovered by Skyline, right? But if I decide to upgrade to a higher version that's actually what's recommended, then the automatic product interoperability check would be invalidated. And speaking of interop, right? You may be asking yourself if performing a recommended upgrade will break something. I'm happy to say that Skyline automatically checks for interop, right? And so all those upgrades is going to be shown here in terms of some of the issues detected. And if I were to click on show details next to that upgrade recommendation, it's actually going to display additional information, which includes all of these product interoperability results. And so that way, right, I'm going to know if a product needs to be upgraded first before performing that recommended upgrade. Lots of cool stuff happening here. Sonny, is there any additional color or questions in the audience about this feature? I know it ranks very, very high in all of our polls and previous webinars and things like that, but I wanted to make sure that we talked about it.
No, you're spot on, right? With the recommendation definitely is, we know you don't have unlimited amount of upgrades. This is your best bet to get the most bang per buck. Okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And then on the flip side is you're so good that no one's asking anything. So
we got a lot of experts. I'm guessing we've got a lot of Skyline technologists in the audience, so they're already aware of this. So this is pretty cool, pretty cool. All right. So let's keep it moving. So now to the next topic, right, which is around leveraging automation, right? Customers like you, have said that, hey, we want to do more than just view those Skyline findings and recommendations. Customers like you have said, hey, you know what? We want to actually take action on them. And so we provided this ability with our Insights API, right? With it, you can take Skyline's finding data and you can extract it via the API into the tooling of your choice. And you can use it to automate whatever you want. So for example, right, if you want to create a ticket out of a finding, no problem. If you want to use config automation tools, go ahead and code away. If you want to send all of your findings to Slack or Jira or PagerDuty, done. You can do that with the API. It's pretty amazing. And like I said, with this, right, with the API and the automation all coming together, it can actually help you manage your environments at scale and save you a lot of time. We just talked about this earlier. You just saw the nearly 5 dozen findings. So, often, Skyline will provide a recommendation that could address, potential many issues and many as you just saw, 60 objects at once, and trying to address them individually is just really, again, just not a very, very productive use of time, right? And here's an interesting stat here. 60% of availability and performance errors are often caused by misconfiguration, right? And so automation through scripting could reduce that number significantly. And of course, time saved is money saved. And I should also note that, with the Insights API, Skyline Advisor Pro can connect teams, right? So whether you're a sysadmin or you're an SRE or an IT manager, the Insights API can enable you all to basically work together. You can automate common workflows and give everyone on the team, again, very valuable time back to do more meaningful work, automating things, being more productive, getting rid of all that tedium. And with that, let's just walk through how the Insights API can actually help you with that. And so let's take a look at how Skyline Advisor Pro, like I said, can connect teams through its API integration with ServiceNow, right? And so as you can see, I don't have any incidents, but I'm going to change that by leveraging Skyline's API to connect to the service. So let's just take a look at the data that I extracted via the API, and you can check out Sunny's videos on our YouTube channel to see that extraction process in more detail. But the key things that I'm pulling are the finding ID, the source, the host name, the KB article. And with that, I'm actually going to take this and I'm going to integrate this into ServiceNow. So I'm going to need to do a couple of things. I'm going to need to add a short description, the urgency, the impact, and last but not least, the watch list. And I'm just going to run the command. I'm going to send this particular finding over to ServiceNow. And after I'm prompted for my ServiceNow password, this information is compiled. And then an incident number, in this case, 10012 is going to be generated. And if I were to toggle over to ServiceNow, I'm going to see that the incident is appearing in my watch list, and all the information that I specified is there for someone to act on.
Now, keep in mind, this is just an example, right? You can actually
Oh, yeah.
any way you want, but the whole goal was just to show that with very little coding, you can actually accomplish a lot.
And we're going to talk about how you can get access to not only this script, but many other things that Sunny's worked on. And we're going to talk about how you can get access to a lot of the stuff here at the end here. And speaking of that, that actually concludes the session. As a matter of fact, we hope you found it informative, and if you're not already using Skyline, we encourage you all to adopt on the spot and start using it today. All you got to do is just go to that getting started link and install Skyline. We even have a way where you can test drive the service. You can go to our hands-on lab and you can check it out in our sandbox environment. You can go in there and try to break stuff. You can even visit some of the URLs listed here for additional information, including our FAQs. And if you still have questions, right, we've got a moderated community and we encourage you all to check it out. So as you can see here, you can download it. There's blogs, there's our YouTube channel, lots of great workflows and videos and things like that Sunny and I have populated. There's even some really, really cool shorts, right? So if you just want to get to the point, you want to see something in less than 60 seconds, we got you covered. Got a Twitter page. Obviously, we got our community as well. So be sure to check out all those great links. And here's some of those additional resources that I was talking about that you can leverage. Got to talk about the Skyline Task Force, right? And this is an internal team of internal subject matter experts, and they host free workshops remotely for anyone who's interested in the service or if they're already using Skyline. And then there's the Skyline Advisor Pro certification badge. It's a free course that validates your skills for supporting and managing and planning environments. And just, quite frankly, just leveraging Skyline and using all of those great features that we talked about and more. And then finally, there's that automation toolkit. Sunny's the brains behind this. And so basically what happens behind this is that this toolkit, it allows, cloud admins, SREs, you can automate a lot of Skyline's proactive findings and recommendations, and you can integrate a lot of that stuff into your own tools and processes and things like that. And so be sure to go check out that toolkit. And Sunny, I know that this is something that's very, very near to you. And if there's anything that you want to add about any one of these topics,
Definitely the get the badge, because you get to see certain features. Maybe you haven't enabled it, maybe you're questioning, you can see it within the technologist course, and then possibly go back to your environment and enable those pieces, right? The second piece, of course, is the whole goal of the toolkit is if you're shy about coding, you can leverage this right off the bat. If you're really good at coding, you can take a look underneath the cover and go, oh, that's how Sunny did it. And last but not least, you can also come back to us going, hey, you've integrated into A, B, and C, but I've got these other tools that, would be pretty helpful. I'm currently doing that for 5 other APIs, right? Just to give the example. So please try that out, okay?
Most definitely. And booyah. And with that, we've got about 120 seconds left, and we can take some questions, Sunny, if you haven't already answered them all, or perhaps you've answered them all and you just want to share them verbally here with the audience.
So there was one last question from Rick, and he's asking for a copy of the presentation slides, and Michelle has says, yes, we'll definitely make that available.
Sweet.
And then last but
And
not least, this is actually recorded, right? So for
yes,
all those who came, thank you very much for listening in. I'm pretty sure you've got either managers or coworkers who were not able to join. Luckily, Daniela has already recorded it. Therefore, we will post this into the YouTube channel for you to share with your community.
and with that, I want to thank you all for attending. I hope you found this information informative, and we look forward to seeing you all next month. Thank you.
Thank you all.